I want you to do something for me right now. Stand up. Go ahead. I will give you a moment. Now notice what just happened in your legs. Did you catch that tiny delay? That split second where your body seemed to hesitate before your legs actually responded? If you are over 70, that pause is not your imagination playing tricks on you. That is your circulation trying to tell you something important. And the truth is, most people brush off that signal every single day until the consequences become impossible to ignore. What you are about to hear goes against almost everything you have been told about why your legs feel the way they do. The common explanation is that it is simply aging, that this is normal, that you just have to accept it. That explanation is wrong. What is genuinely happening inside your legs right now is a precise nutritional gap that is slowly strangling blood flow to your muscles. And the science behind this is so overwhelming, so thoroughly documented, that it is quanchang astonishing how rarely it gets discussed. Cast your mind back 5 years. Were you able to stand at the kitchen counter and prepare a full meal without your legs throbbing? Could you move through a grocery store from one end to the other without hunting for a place to rest? We are not talking about anything extraordinary here. We are talking about ordinary daily tasks that should not drain you, that should not leave you gripping a shopping cart just to stay upright. When did things shift for you? And what if I told you that shift did not have to happen at all? What is actually going on inside your legs, this very moment? Before we get to the 6 vitamins, there is something you need to fully grasp, something that changes the entire picture once you see it clearly. At this very moment, whether you are sitting or standing, your heart is pumping blood on a nearly 6-foot round trip down to your feet and all the way back up again, against gravity, continuously, every single minute of every single day. When you were younger, your blood vessels were supple, wide, and elastic, making that journey smooth and almost effortless. But something shifts after 60 that almost no one warns you about in time. Your vessel walls begin to harden. Microscopic deposits begin accumulating along the inner surfaces. The channels through which your blood travels start to narrow, and what was once a smooth, effortless flow begins to feel more like water being shoved through a twisted, half-blocked pipe. The resistance builds. The flow weakens, and the areas of your body sitting farthest from your heart, your legs, your feet, your toes, are always the first to be shortchanged. This is not just a comfort issue. It is not simply about feet that feel cold or legs that feel like dead weight by evening. What we are really talking about is what unfolds inside your body when your tissues are chronically deprived of the oxygen they require to function. Because here is what the science actually tells us, and what far too few people ever hear. Once circulation to your legs falls below a critical level, your nervous system starts firing warning signals. That is the tingling you feel. That is the numbness that settles in. That is the burning that crawls through your legs in the dead of night and pulls you out of a deep sleep. And when those signals go unanswered long enough, the nerve damage that follows can become irreversible. And then there is another layer to this that is even more alarming. When blood stops moving efficiently through your legs and begins to pool rather than circulate, it thickens, it becomes slow and heavy. And slow, heavy blood does not just sit there harmlessly, it clots, and those clots do not stay put. They migrate. They can travel to your lungs, they can travel to your brain. What begins as heavy, tired legs can quietly become something that threatens your life. This is precisely why compromised leg circulation is regarded by specialists as one of the gravest and most consistently underestimated health risks for people over the age of 70. But now here is the piece of this that I genuinely need you to hold on to. This is not a done deal. Not for most people watching this right now. Your blood vessels, regardless of how stiff they have become, regardless of how narrowed those passages are, still retain the capacity to change. Still retain the ability to open up, regain flexibility, and move oxygen-rich blood to where it belongs. But that can only happen when you give them the specific nutrients they have been missing. And that is the entire purpose of these 6 vitamins. Researchers followed more than 2,000 seniors across an 8-year period and uncovered something that turned heads across the medical community. The individuals who maintained strong, healthy leg circulation well into their 80s, who walked with confidence, who never developed that slow, cautious shuffle we have come to wrongly accept as inevitable with age, Every single one of them shared one measurable characteristic. It was not primarily how much they exercised, though that contributed. It was not their genetics, though that had some influence. It was the specific concentration of nutrients in their bodies. 6 vitamins in particular that collectively keep blood vessels pliable, reactive, and operating the way they were designed to. Today we are going through all 6 of them, ranked from the supporting players to the one that changes everything. And you need to stay all the way to the end because the vitamin sitting at number 1, the one that produced a 380% improvement in lower leg blood flow in controlled clinical trials, surprises virtually everyone who hears about it for the first time. Even people who have been studying this for years. Before we begin, take a second and drop a comment letting us know where in the world you are watching from. Every comment gets read, and there is something genuinely motivating about knowing that people everywhere are choosing to fight back against something they were told was just their fate. Let us get into it. Vitamin number 6. We are opening with this one because it is the most underestimated vitamin on this entire list. Most people think they know everything about vitamin C, but what actually happens inside your leg vessels when your levels drop is something almost nobody explains clearly. And after 70, chronic low-level deficiency is far more common than most people realize. Every blood vessel in your body is structurally reinforced by collagen, the same protein responsible for keeping your skin resilient and firm. And here is a fact that does not get stated enough. Your body is physically incapable of manufacturing collagen without vitamin C present. The chemistry simply does not work without it. Researchers found that seniors with sufficient vitamin C maintained blood vessels that were 40% more elastic than those who were deficient, 40% more capable of the constant expansion and compression your leg vessels must perform thousands of times daily just to keep blood moving upward against gravity. The core problem with vitamin C is that your body cannot stockpile it. It is water-soluble and continuously flushed out. Most people take a single large dose in the morning. It is filtered out through the kidneys within a few hours, and the rest of the day, their vessels are working without the raw material they need. The far more effective approach is to take 200 milligrams 3 separate times throughout the day, alongside meals. This keeps your blood levels consistently elevated and gives your vessel walls a continuous supply for ongoing repair. Among food sources, kiwi fruit stands out. It contains 3 times the vitamin C of an orange and delivers it bound to fiber that slows absorption, creating a sustained release effect rather than a sharp spike followed by a rapid drop. For supplementation, skip standard ascorbic acid, which tends to irritate the stomach and absorbs inconsistently. Buffered vitamin C or sodium ascorbate are gentler and more reliably absorbed. One detail that rarely gets mentioned is to pair your vitamin C with bioflavonoids, such as quercetin or rutin. These compounds act as a stabilizing shield around vitamin C molecules, protecting them from oxidizing before your body can put them to work, and substantially amplifying their overall impact. Red bell peppers deserve special mention here because they deliver both vitamin C and capsaicin in one package, with the capsaicin triggering immediate vessel dilation on top of the structural benefits. Vitamin number 5. Most people think of vitamin E as something that benefits the skin or perhaps the heart, but what it is actually doing deep inside your leg vessels is something far more critical and far less talked about. It functions as a continuous defensive barrier protecting the inner lining of your blood vessels from a specific and relentless form of attack. Every moment your body is alive, it produces free radicals as a natural byproduct of basic metabolism. These unstable molecules strike your vessel walls repeatedly, causing a cumulative form of oxidative damage that gradually makes those walls rigid and constricted. Vitamin E intercepts those free radicals before they can reach the vessel lining and neutralizes them harmlessly. A large study of seniors found that those maintaining optimal vitamin E levels demonstrated 65% superior blood flow through their lower limbs compared to those who were deficient. Researchers used thermal imaging that revealed circulation in visual color. People with healthy blood flow showed up in vivid warm red tones. Those with poor circulation appeared in cold dark blue, nearly black in the worst cases. You could see the difference with your own eyes. The mistake most people make is reaching for the cheapest vitamin E supplement available. Synthetic vitamin E is absorbed by the body at roughly 1/8 the rate of natural vitamin E derived from whole food sources, which means if you are taking a synthetic supplement, nearly 87 cents of every dollar you spend on it is being flushed away unused. For food sources, prioritize raw almonds, sunflower seeds, and wheat germ oil. Always consume them alongside a source of healthy fat such as olive oil or avocado, since vitamin E requires fat molecules to escort it across the intestinal lining into your bloodstream. If you are supplementing, the label needs to say mixed tocopherols. Your vessels require all 8 naturally occurring forms of vitamin E working in coordination. Most budget supplements contain only alpha tocopherol and leave the other 7 forms entirely absent. The clinically effective dose is 400 international units daily, divided into 2 200-unit doses taken with separate meals. Consuming the full amount at once saturates your absorption capacity, and the excess is simply discarded by the body. Research confirmed that seniors who took vitamin E alongside their largest meal absorbed 73% more than those who took it without food. Vitamin number 4. This one occupies an unusual category. It behaves more like a hormone than a conventional vitamin, and it exerts regulatory influence over more than 1,000 genes throughout your body, including the precise genes governing how your blood vessels perform. A landmark, long-running population study produced a finding that genuinely warranted attention. Individuals over 75 whose vitamin D levels fell below 30 nanograms per milliliter exhibited 80% greater arterial stiffness and 62% reduced blood flow to their lower limbs when compared to those maintaining levels above 50. That difference was not confined to laboratory measurements. It showed up directly in what people were able to do. Those with sufficient D3 were completing mile-long walks. Those who were deficient were struggling to get around the block. Running throughout the walls of your blood vessels are vitamin D receptors. When D3 binds to those receptors, it activates the production of nitric oxide, the single most important molecule your body uses to relax and open blood vessels. Without it, those vessels remain contracted and constricted, unable to deliver the volume of blood your leg muscles require to function properly, even at rest, let alone during movement. There is a counterintuitive truth about D3 supplementation worth knowing. A single larger weekly dose can outperform smaller daily doses because D3 accumulates in fat tissue and releases gradually from there, maintaining steadier blood levels than the daily spike and dip pattern. Sun exposure remains the most natural source, but after 75, your skin generates approximately 75% less vitamin D from the same amount of sunlight than it did when you were young. Most seniors are simply not getting anywhere close to what they need from the sun, regardless of how much time they spend outdoors. Supplementation is essentially non-negotiable for most older adults, but it must be paired with K2. The reason is mechanistic. D3 enhances calcium absorption throughout your body. K2 is the traffic controller that redirects that calcium away from your arterial walls and toward your bones where it belongs. D3 without K2 creates a situation where more calcium enters your system but has no guidance about where to go, increasing the risk of it depositing exactly where you do not want it. The protocol supported by research is 5,000 international units of D3 combined with 180 micrograms of K2-MK7, taken together with a meal containing a minimum of 15 grams of fat. That fat requirement is not optional. D3 absorption rises by 50% in its presence. Wild-caught salmon, sardines, and mackerel offer the added advantage of providing omega-3 fatty acids alongside D3, and those fatty acids further amplify the circulation benefits. That said, the quantities required to maintain optimal D3 levels through diet alone make daily supplementation a practical necessity for the overwhelming majority of seniors. Vitamin number 3. We are now crossing into the territory of vitamins that work on a structural level inside your arteries in ways that most people have never been told about. And this one is perhaps the most misunderstood vitamin in the entire conversation around circulation. Most people have heard of vitamin K only in the context of blood clotting, that is vitamin K1, and it is a completely separate matter. Vitamin K2 performs an entirely different role. Its primary responsibility is preventing calcium from drifting into your artery walls where it has no business being and where its presence causes serious irreversible damage. Here is why that matters so profoundly. When calcium begins depositing inside your arteries, and if you are deficient in K2, this process is already underway, those vessels lose their elasticity entirely. They become hard, narrow, and immovable, incapable of the rhythmic expansion and contraction required to drive blood upward through your legs against gravity. A major study tracking nearly 5,000 people over 10 years found that those with the highest K2 consumption showed 52% less calcification in the vessels supplying their legs compared to those with the lowest intake. That is not a minor statistical edge. That gap represents the real-world difference between walking freely and struggling to manage a single flight of stairs. What makes K2 deficiency so widespread and so dangerous is how thoroughly it has been eliminated from the modern diet. Earlier generations obtained it naturally from butter, eggs, and organ meats from grass-fed animals. Those food sources have largely vanished from most people's daily eating, and unless you regularly consume fermented foods like natto, meaningful K2 is simply not entering your system. Compounding this further, the gut bacteria responsible for converting K1 into usable K2 decline significantly with age, particularly after 70. When supplementing, always choose MK7 over MK4. MK7 remains active in your bloodstream for 72 hours, providing sustained continuous protection. MK4 clears your system in roughly 8 hours, leaving you unprotected for most of the day. The dose, showing actual reversal of arterial calcification in studies, is 180 micrograms of MK7 daily, always taken alongside a fat-containing meal, since K2 cannot be absorbed without it. Vitamin number 2. This is where we enter truly remarkable territory, because what we are about to describe is not a slow background process you will notice weeks from now. This is something you will feel happening inside your body within 30 minutes of your very first dose. Niacin possesses a capability that belongs to no other vitamin. It compels your blood vessels to expand within minutes of entering your system. The result is what is known as the niacin flush. Your skin reddens. Warmth spreads across your body. And that warmth is not a reaction to be concerned about. It is the physical sensation of millions of microscopic blood vessels opening simultaneously, allowing oxygen-rich blood to flood into capillaries that may not have experienced proper circulation in years. A clinical investigation administered 500 milligrams of niacin daily to seniors with compromised leg circulation and measured the results using ultrasound imaging. The recorded improvement was a 180% increase in blood flow to the lower legs across just 6 weeks. Beyond that, a significant portion of participants reported complete elimination of the nocturnal leg cramps that had been disrupting their sleep for months or years. Niacin addresses the problem through multiple channels at once. It breaks down the dense adhesive form of LDL cholesterol that accumulates on arterial walls. It raises protective HDL cholesterol that actively scrubs those same walls clean. And it stimulates the release of prostaglandins, biological compounds that expand blood vessels so dramatically it is like converting a congested 2-lane road into a 6-lane highway. The flush is genuine, and for some people initially uncomfortable, but it is also the confirmation that the mechanism is working exactly as it should. The approach that produces the best results with the least discomfort is gradual introduction. Begin with 50 milligrams taken after your evening meal during the first week and allow your body time to adjust. Step up to 100 milligrams the following week and continue increasing progressively over a month until reaching 500 milligrams. Always select immediate-release niacin over extended release since it is the flush itself that drives the vessel dilation benefit. An important note for anyone taking medications that reduce stomach acid. Niacin found in food is chemically bound to proteins that require stomach acid to release it. Without that acid, the niacin in your meals never reaches your bloodstream in usable form, making supplementation especially critical in those cases. The protocol producing the strongest documented results is 250 milligrams of immediate-release niacin twice daily with food, paired with 81 milligrams of aspirin, which softens the flush, while contributing its own circulation benefit through platelet regulation. Vitamin number 1. And here we are, the one that matters most, the one whose results have been so significant they were initially questioned. Pay careful attention to everything in this section, because this is the vitamin most people never think to address, and it is the one carrying the most powerful and thoroughly documented impact on leg circulation of anything we have covered today. Research following 1,000 seniors over a 12-week period found that correcting B12 deficiency produced a 400% increase in leg blood flow, not a modest, gradual improvement measured in percentages that barely register in daily life. 400%. Participants who had been physically unable to walk to their own front gate without stopping were completing 5-kilometer walks by the close of the study. What was documented was not incremental progress. It was a fundamental restoration of capacity that most of those individuals had stopped believing was recoverable. The reason B12 holds such extraordinary influence over your circulation comes down to 3 simultaneous functions it performs that nothing else can replicate. It is the primary driver of red blood cell production, the cells whose entire purpose is to physically carry oxygen through your blood to every muscle in your legs. It maintains the myelin sheath, the critical protective coating surrounding the nerves that regulate and communicate with your blood vessels. And it controls homocysteine, an amino acid that when present in elevated quantities progressively etches away at vessel walls, generating the chronic inflammation that gradually throttles blood flow. Now here is the part of this story that most people never hear, and it is the part that makes everything about B12 suddenly make sense. Beginning around age 60, your stomach gradually reduces its output of both hydrochloric acid and a protein called intrinsic factor. These are not peripheral details of digestion. They are the 2 non-negotiable requirements for absorbing B12 from anything you eat. By the time you reach 75, research estimates that close to 40% of people carry B12 levels low enough to be causing active neurological deterioration, with nothing in their symptoms pointing clearly enough to B12 as the source for anyone to investigate it. You could be eating liver and red meat multiple times a week and still be running critically low on functional B12. What makes this situation particularly difficult to detect is that the symptoms of B12 deficiency are virtually identical to what most people have been told to simply expect as they get older. The numbness settling into the legs, the persistent tingling in the feet, the progressive muscular weakness, the unsteadiness that makes every step feel uncertain, the burning that surfaces in the night and fractures sleep. None of these are normal features of aging. They are symptoms of a deficiency. They are your nervous system and your blood vessels communicating that they are not receiving what they need. The standard B12 blood test contains a fundamental flaw that compromises its reliability. It measures the total quantity of B12 in your blood, including forms that your cells cannot actually use. A result that reads as normal by conventional standards can still represent genuine functional deficiency at the cellular level. The test that provides an accurate picture is one measuring methylmalonic acid levels in your blood. If that number is elevated, your tissues are not receiving adequate usable B12 regardless of what the standard panel shows. Food sources including liver, clams, and red meat contain substantial B12, but the absorption barrier described above means that food alone is an increasingly unreliable delivery mechanism as you age. The solution that bypasses the problem entirely is sublingual supplementation. Tablets or liquid drops formulated to dissolve beneath the tongue deliver B12 directly into the dense network of blood vessels in that area, completely circumventing the digestive system and the absorption obstacles it presents. The absorption advantage over standard oral tablets is tenfold. The form is equally decisive. Cyanocobalamin, the version found in most budget supplements, must undergo multiple conversion steps inside your body before your cells can put it to work. Methylcobalamin is the form your body can utilize immediately without any conversion required. For meaningful and measurable circulation improvement, the target is 1,000 micrograms of methylcobalamin sublingually each morning. Place it beneath your tongue and allow it to dissolve completely before swallowing. Do not rush that step. Most people begin noticing their legs feeling warmer and more responsive within 2 weeks of starting correctly dosed B12. The numbness and tingling typically begins receding within a month. By the 3-month point, walking capacity often reaches levels that had not been experienced in years. Your next step. Here is what we want you to do. Select one vitamin from everything covered today and commit to a genuine 30-day trial. Not all 6 at once, just one. Have your levels tested if that is an option for you. Begin supplementation the right way and pay deliberate attention to what shifts in how your legs feel and what they are able to do. Then come back to this video and share your experience in the comments. Every single comment gets read, and your story might be the exact thing that moves someone else who has been hesitating to finally take that first step. Your legs have been carrying you through your entire life. They deserve something better than being dismissed as a natural casualty of getting older. These 6 vitamins, and especially that number 1, give them back what they have been missing for far too long. Do not wait until every step becomes a struggle. Start today. If this was valuable to you, make sure you subscribe right now, because next week we are exposing the 3 foods that are actively working against your circulation if you are over 70, and we are confident that at least one of them is sitting in your kitchen at this very moment.